We're just gonna do the music.
give technology a chance to do its thing. All right, so we're just gonna have the music, that's
Yeah.
fine. But you have some beautiful nature to look at during meditation if you choose to keep your eyes open. So I invite you to just settle into your chairs. Feel the weight of the chairs supporting you. Consider that to be a hug from Spirit, God, Creator of the universe. And just allow yourself to flop and relax into the chair and focus on your breath. And as you breathe in love, light, and peace. And on the exhale, let go of anything that no longer serves, that no longer needs to be held in your body. And we'll just do a few breaths this way. Now I invite you on your exhale to send roots from your sit bones, your feet, whatever part of you feels natural. Send those down into the earth and allow them to connect to the roots of the trees in our city, in our state, throughout our country. And allow these roots to go across the ocean to the trees on the other side, so that you are connected to the network of light through the trees all around the world. And as you breathe in the light, the energy that these tree roots give to you. And as you exhale, send energy down into the roots so that it can transform it into pure light. And allow yourselves to feel this groundedness, of this connection to the trees, to this grid of light. It's very peaceful, yet very energizing. Just allow yourself to feel this inner peace come in as you're connected through nature. This is another way that we connect with Spirit, God, our Creator, that is around us and within us. And as you are in this state, I invite you to bring awareness to your breath and listen very closely. Can you hear your breath? Can you hear someone else's breath? Now take it out. What else do you hear? What other sounds in the room do you hear? And then allow yourself to notice, I don't know, about 20 or 30 feet, maybe into another room or outside the building around you. Do you hear anything? And as you listen, expand it out a little further. Do you hear anything, perhaps outside the building? our state. Bring it back to our city. Bring them back into this room. And bring them back into your body from the same place they came. And as you pull it in, it's going to rest either in your heart space or maybe in the area just below your navel. And allow yourself to feel this peaceful energy radiating through the cells of your body. Filling your body with light and love that comes from the earth, that comes from God. And we're going to take a couple more deep breaths in and out. And each time you exhale, feel the presence of the chair, feel the room, feel your body. Begin to wiggle your fingers and toes, shift your body, make sure you're here all the way back into this space, into this now moment. Welcome back.
Beautiful.
The reason I wanted to do this meditation first is I promised you a little bit of forest bathing, but since we're not in the forest today, I thought I would bring the forest into the room. And so that was actually one of the exercises that if I'm doing a forest bathing session with someone, we would do that, and we would also look at the plant life, which is, I also brought a plant in. And we'll get to that later in the talk, but I want to thank you for having me here today, and welcome to those of you here live and those of you who are joining us on YouTube. It is so good to be back, and I'm here just a little bit before fall comes in later on this month, and it's good to be back here for the change of each season. Today's title is Be in Nature, Be in Peace, and it is inspired. Ever since I can remember when I was a child, I've always been outdoors. I grew up in a home that had a lot of violence and a lot of mental abuse, and it was my way to connect to Creator, connect to Source, stay connected to myself, and that's how I learned about inner peace. I went outside to find it, but it allowed me the space to come inside to experience that peace. And so that was the inspiration for my talk today. I had a rewrite very early this morning, so please bear with me. Peace is found in nature. Even sometimes if you're outside, the squirrels might be running around and there's all kinds of noise out there. But as we demonstrated in the meditation, in the midst of all the noise of the external, you can still reach that peaceful place inside. And peace through nature came first before we did, if you go back to the story of Genesis. And so that gives me a lot of comfort to know where that peace comes from and that I can go and find it. In any example, always through nature, always comes back to that. And then that is the mirror, and that is also as above is below. Peace is a vibration that we are born with and we are born into. And so it is always there. Sometimes we might choose to leave it, or sometimes we're distracted from it, but it is always there. Just as the sun's always there, even when it's a cloudy day, even when it's raining, it's still there, just like the sun, just like the love that we are all born from. We have many different times of the year that we celebrate peace. It often comes through the silence at Christmas before the chaos of opening gifts, through that silent night. And then we have peace throughout the spring as nature is coming in. And then we come to this time of the year where we have World Day of Prayer for Unity was this past Thursday. And they have different focuses each year, but there's always a component of peace that goes in World Day of Prayer. And then, of course, we have today, where we are remembering others, but we also remember the peace that comes from what we learned from that and from the hearts of those who helped and who served. We find peace. It might take us a while to dig through and find it, but it's there. And it is part of the way that Creator can crack our hearts open. Once the cracks are in the heart, then the light comes out, and that's where we find the peace. But it's a choice for us to find that peace, because that's one of those little layers of veils that are covering over that vibration that we are born with. And so when we allow our hearts to expand and open up, we bring in that peace, and then we send it out into the world. And at times like this, being in nature helps us to get to that grounded place of peace, into that stillness that is inside of us and all around us. Also, I don't know if you're aware, there is an International Day of Peace on September 21st, and this is its 40th year. And I did apply a link to look at their activities and some of the things that they have going on related to that. They have some things online, and so they actually have, this organization actually had 99 days of peace that began earlier this summer, and it culminates this week of the 17th to the 24th. So you might want to check that out. There are some very good resources and links on that. And so for me, September is a celebration of peace, and also finding that peace in the transition from summer to fall. I'm a summer person, so I have parts of me that struggle with letting fall come in. And so that is another opportunity to come into center and to make peace with letting go of what I don't want to let go of. And the fall shows us how to do that by showing us the beautiful colors that come before the release comes. All right, we can move on to the next slide. Just a couple of really quick examples for you. Jesus was a busy man, talking to the crowds and talking to guests and teaching. And all of us get into the chaos of being around others, and then we need to find that place of solitude to where we can go and listen. We have many ways that we can reach a peaceful state. We can listen to a meditation, we can listen to music, we can listen to the birds. There's so many different things that we can do. But some of those can also be distractions. To shut off like one part that's the chaos, but it sometimes might be a distraction from that have you really gotten to that because you've just taken your attention somewhere else. So Jesus would go away from everyone and he'd go out into nature. And he would go either to the lake or he would go to the mountains or the garden when he needed to have that time where he could go and commune with God. And that stillness of nature, all of the distractions of the people and everything that was going on enabled him to sit back and listen. And that's one of the things that I wanted to bring in with you today about peace and connecting to the pieces outside of us as well as the peace inside of us. Is the connection is nature and God. When we go out in nature and we let go of the distractions and we feel that loving energy and vibration that we felt during the meditation, it allows us to get out of our minds, maybe. It might take a while to say, this is my time now. Come back later when I'm not meditating or connecting to Creator. So that shutting off the mind is how we actually listen to God. The audible prayer is a way to communicate and connect with God, but when we go out and listen and say nothing into that silent stillness, that's where we hear God speak. And God might speak through the birds or the squirrels running around, or through a stream or a babbling brook. We have to know what the signs are. And if we're not sure what the signs are, we can say, let me know without a shadow of a doubt. This is a communication from you, God, Spirit, Creator. And God will let you know. And if you're not sure, you can always muscle test, or you can always ask 3 times. And is this my sign? Most of the time, you're going to feel it, because everything in your body is going to relax, and it's going to feel expansive. It's going to feel open. As I was doing the heady part of getting ready for today, I did research that it was mentioned in the Bible 9 times where Jesus left the crowds and everyone to go be in nature, to commune with God and to listen. And we also have other examples in the Bible, beginning at Genesis and goes all the way through the New Testament. So we have lots of examples where God has communicated with us through our connection to nature. Couple of the reasons that Jesus did go away was to prepare for major task, especially when he was ending his ministry and when he was beginning his ministry, to recharge after reaching out to multitudes. He had his own grief work where he needed to be in private to do his own grieving for some of those that he healed and some of those that passed on that he knew very deeply in his heart. And then, of course, he also went into solitude with God and nature before making a decision that was really important. Was he going to carry his cross and do what he had to do? That was a big one. That's why he spent the time in Gethsemane. He also would go there in times of distress. He was human as well as divine, so when he had those moments where life was overwhelming, he went out to the lake or to the mountains or to the wilderness. And then, of course, to focus on his prayer. All of us can benefit by connecting to nature and spending the time in nature. And if one's mind can't always let the distractions go, allow the distractions to become part of the meditation and the communication. One time I was walking a labyrinth, and I was at a train station, and it was right next to a train station, and I was meditating in the center of the labyrinth. I didn't even hear the train. I could feel it, but I didn't even hear the train, and its whistle was going off and everything. And it was just because I was dropped into this space, connected to Creator, to God, to Spirit, that the noise around me didn't matter, because I was still able to reach that place of peace and that place of connection with the Spirit within. So each one of us has to find our own place in peace. In finding that, you can go on to the next slide.
Keep going.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
I came across this quote from Gandhi. Each one has to find his peace from within, and peace to be real must be unaffected by outside circumstances, which is why I kind of mentioned just a moment ago about that experience that I had in the labyrinth. And we all have our ways to do that. And we have different ways that we can experiment with that. And that's one of the things I invite you to do this week, is to experiment with the different ways that you find peace. Might even be through just touching a flower, or just stepping outside, listening to a baby. Might be peaceful for some, others it might not. I'm a grandmother now, so when I hear a baby now, it's a joyful noise, so sorry about that. But it's up to, that's part of your journey, is to explore the different ways that you find your inner peace and your inner connection with spirit, and stay tapped into that vibration and return to that vibration in the moment that you realize you're not in it. That's part of our growth work, is to, when we don't feel it, find a way to get back into it. And it doesn't happen 24/7 all the time. We can't do that. We can, but it takes a lot of work and a lot of practice. And so don't set ourselves up to fail, but do it as often as we can. And when you have an open heart and when you act from the heart, then it becomes easier and it is felt. I always have way more information than I actually need to. I just want to make sure I hit everything. I have a couple of suggestions to experiment with this week. One would be to just take a step outside. So you can get to the next slide.
Oh my goodness, here we go.
I know. First of all, unplug. Put your phone away, or put it on airplane mode or silent, and if you have a limited amount of time, set an alarm and then just put it in your pocket or whatever, but just do your best to unplug. That is the greatest way to get into a peaceful state and get back into that peaceful vibration, is to unplug. Go anywhere out in nature that you can experience connection. It can be your porch, it could be a patio, it could be a forest, it could be a park, the mountains, lake, whatever resonates with you. And even if it's just for 10 minutes, I will do a couple of walks around the block where I live. We have a tree line along there, and that is enough to help shift my energy just by going out even for 5 or 10 minutes. Although to get your best vitamin D, naturally, 20 minutes a day. So 20 minutes a day is good for your health, and it's also good for your peace vibration. Some people do a walking meditation while they're outside, and allow them that to kind of be a multitask, where you're conscious about your walking and you're walking. When you're doing a walking meditation, it's usually a lot slower than getting your cardio up. Usually more like a labyrinth walk, where you would be going foot to foot, or very, very conscious as you're taking your steps on the ground, and you're connecting through the chakras in the bottom of your feet, and then that pulls the energy back up in here, and then it helps you tap into the peace. Some people will listen to a podcast or some inspiration while they're walking, and that can help bring the peace, and it certainly can help if the mind is going 90 miles a minute. If you have affirmations or something very, very positive, then that will help bring that along. Go visit a farmer's market if you've not been to one before, and see if you are able to find a place of peace at the farmer's market. You've got the nature there, you've got all of the harvest and the bounty that comes from Creator, from God, from Spirit, and you also get the liveliness of those who are all out doing the same thing. And that's your opportunity. Can you have that peace in the middle of that little storm, little chaos? And it might be a stretch. It might work, it might not. But the more you try it, the more it comes, and it might be easier. Some people garden, and that's often a way that I hear messages from Creator, is when I'm in the garden or creating a flower arrangement. Often I get downloads that way, and it's just one of the most quick ways that I can get into my heart space and get into a peaceful, loving flow. Watch a sunrise or a sunset, if possible. I know that sometimes that means getting up really early, or maybe popping your head out of the office if you're ready at work. I get challenged because I live in a house where we have rows and rows of houses there, and so my view of the sunrise is usually blocked by other houses, which gets me up early, because if I look out the window by my hot tub in my bathroom, I have a really, really good view of the sunrise. Especially when fall comes, because of the angle, then it's like coming right through the window. And then for sunset, I have to go for a walk in my neighborhood to get an unobstructed view. And so sometimes you have to be creative on watching the sunset or the sunrise. And if the weather is not accommodating for that, we have one of those really huge widescreen TVs. We put on nature videos, and then it immerses us right into it. So it's another way that technology can actually help us tap into nature and tap into that still small voice inside, and that's around us and connected. Sunbathing or moon, and for those of you who like the moon, do some moon bathing, where you just go out with a blanket and a chair and just watch the moon and the stars and listen to them. They'll talk to you if you listen. And the list goes on and on. All right. Next slide. I probably have already covered the next slide too. Yeah, I have.
Hug a tree. There you go.
Oh yes, that's right. How could I forget that? I'm a big tree hugger. Sometimes when I get writing blocks and when I get really, really frustrated, I have a tree outside my office that will call me, or I will go to the tree and I will hug it for a good, minute or so, or even a little bit longer. And I can feel the connection of that tree and all that energy from its roots coming up into my heart, and then sending that same energy from my heart to the tree. So there is an exchange there of that energy. My husband and I both have our own specific hugging trees in our neighborhood, and I'm grateful that mine is really close to the office, so I can see it blowing in the wind, and sometimes it calls me, even if I don't think I need to go out there, and it makes a great way to stay in touch. Oh, you can back up for just a second, I'm sorry. Being an artist, it would not be good if I did not mention trying to create while you're out in nature. You could coloring book, or maybe some pencils, or a sketch pad, or paints. However creative you may or may not be, there is always a way to create on nature, and that's also where the gardening comes in. That is a really, really great way to tap into the vibration of peace and to connect with Creator, is when you're creating out in nature. And of course, connecting with food, with nature that comes from nature. So that's always a good thing too. And then you're nourishing your body as well. All right, now I'm ready for the next slide, sorry.
Okay.
And I just want to leave you with this. Come away by yourselves and rest a while. Let the beauty of nature remind you of the peace and the presence of Spirit, God, Creator of the universe, be with you. May the peace that passes all understanding be with you today and every day. And I hope that you have fun exploring